why smart people fall for manipulators easily, and why intelligence isn't protection, but a vulnerability most people never notice. When people imagine manipulation, they picture someone naive, insecure, or unaware. But the truth is almost the opposite. Manipulators rarely go after the weak. They go after the intelligent, the emotionally aware, the highly perceptive, because these people provide the perfect psychological environment for manipulation to grow. And the first reason is simple. Smart people assume they can read intentions accurately. They trust their ability to analyze behavior, spot red flags, and decode motives. But manipulators specialize in performing exactly the signals that smart people use to make judgments. They mirror empathy, express vulnerability at the right moment, and present themselves as deeply self-aware. To a smart person, this looks like emotional compatibility, but it's actually strategic behavior. Another reason is that intelligent people see complexity everywhere. They're trained to question, reflect, and search for deeper meaning. When a manipulator behaves inconsistently, most people see a problem. But a smart person sees layers, trauma, insecurity, stress, emotional wounds. Instead of recognizing manipulation, they start trying to understand, fix, or support the other person. Their intelligence becomes the hook because their mind interprets manipulation as complexity rather than danger. Smart people also struggle with one of the biggest psychological traps, cognitive empathy. They don't just understand others. They imagine what they themselves would feel if they were in the same situation. This creates a powerful distortion because manipulators don't feel guilt, remorse, or emotional responsibility the same way. Smart people assume the manipulator has a good heart beneath the surface because they project their own emotional depth onto someone who doesn't have it. The manipulator uses this projection to control them. There's also a darker reason. Intelligent people crave meaning in relationships. They want depth, connection, intensity, emotional truth. Manipulators use this desire like a weapon. They start with love bombing, intense attention, exaggerated interest, fast emotional intimacy, things that feel rare and meaningful to an intelligent mind. Smart people often struggle to find relationships that stimulate them. So when someone finally appears who seems to get them, they ignore the warning signs. What feels like connection is actually targeted psychological engineering. Smart people are also vulnerable because they tend to overestimate their emotional independence. They believe they're too aware to be controlled, too perceptive to be fooled, too mentally strong to be manipulated. This confidence blinds them to subtle influence. Manipulators don't attack the rational mind directly. They slowly drain emotional boundaries, making the smart person feel responsible for the manipulator's emotions. Intelligent people have strong problem-solving instincts, and manipulators exploit this by creating emotional crises. They force the smart person into the role of caretaker, advisor, or healer. And once that role is accepted, the manipulation becomes much harder to break. But the deepest reason is this. Smart people fall for manipulators because they believe in patterns, consistency, logic. Manipulators don't operate with logic, they operate with tactics. A smart person tries to find meaning, but a manipulator only tries to find leverage. The smart person analyzes behavior, but the manipulator analyzes weaknesses. The smart person seeks truth, but the manipulator seeks control. Intelligence, in this context, becomes irrelevant. What matters is emotional awareness, boundary setting, and the ability to recognize manipulation before connection forms. There's something else nobody talks about. Intelligent people often have childhood patterns that make them especially easy targets. Being the problem solver, the peacekeeper, the emotionally mature one, or the child who learned early to manage other people's feelings. Manipulators recognize these traits instantly. They see someone who will tolerate inconsistency, someone who will blame themselves before blaming others, someone who will work harder to keep the relationship stable. Intelligence amplifies these traits. It doesn't cancel them. If you want to protect yourself, the answer isn't to become colder or less trusting. It's to understand the difference between emotional depth and emotional chaos, between intensity and instability, between vulnerability and manipulation. Smart people fall for manipulators not because they're foolish, but because they're capable of empathy, complexity, and meaning, traits that manipulators know how to weaponize. And the truth is simple. The more you believe you can't be manipulated, the easier it becomes for someone to manipulate you. Awareness is your protection. Boundaries are your filter. And emotional clarity is your shield. Follow and like for more deep psychology and human behavior insights.